One Piece Chapter 1083, title The Truth About That Day, revealed us a lot of things, guys, starting from Sabo and the Revolutionary Army situation, along with the state of Vivi. But the most interesting part is about Shanks' connection with the Holy Knight. Yes, guys, it's a big speculation, which I will let you know. But before that, guys, don't forget to subscribe and giga punch the like button. The chapter starts with a cover page which is allotted for Doflamingo as he's tending a fallen chicken. As that shouldn't bother you guys, as we come to Kamabaka Queendom, where we saw all the Revolutionary Army gathered. Sabo implies that they have accomplished everything that they have said to trigger the Great War, which formulated into three main objectives. That is, to declare a full-blown war against the world government by destroying the celestial dragon symbol, rescuing Kurma, and to free as many slaves as possible. And lastly, they were managed to destroy the Holy Land Food Reserve. Doing this, they got the world's attention, and the Navy even ended up sending the admirals. While that was happening, Dragon explained the rest of the revolutionaries triggered uprising in 12th Nation, where they held strong influence with it, and 8 of them were successful. But Ivankov responds to Dragon saying that though this is true, but one of the nations was vanished, being the kingdom of Lulusia. As we know that Kingdom Lulusia was a world government affiliated kingdom located in Paradise, which was ruled by King Saki. But following the events of the latest levely, the citizen decided to revolt against him as a part of 8 Nations revolution and imprisoned him and his daughter. After this incident, in chapter 1060, we saw that Imu decided to destroy the kingdom without a trace and erase the kingdom from the history of One Piece. As they were reading the newspaper, they saw that the headlines on the newspaper censored everything about Kingdom Lulusia, but the 7 other nations have declared their intent to no longer play the celestial tribute or comply with the exploitative exporting of their resources. And on top of that, the Revolutionary Army is attacking their world government supplies all over the world to stop the resources from reaching Marijo. Ivanko further explained that they say the Holy Land's high up location makes it impenetrable fortress, but we see that how they like living under siege. They get a taste of what it is like to live in poverty and go hungry, giving them a taste of their own medicine. Dragon says that they might not have cut off their supply chains completely, but they must be struggling by now. Dragon further explains that he doesn't expect the world government to just take all of these to be the real battle, but the real battle should begin once they mobilize the God Knights, in which we do see some silhouettes. Guys, if you carefully look at the silhouettes, the middle figure looks identical to Shanks, starting from his posture to his sword shape, and also he's wearing a cape which totally resembles either his crewmate or it could be a different organization where we could see Shanks' uncle's son or his clone. You never know what Oda is thinking. But Dragon seemed to view them as a threat, to which further Ivankov explains to Sabo that he is the #1 target of them, smirking and calling him the Flame Emperor. To which Sabo says that he doesn't really like the title that they get, and Dragon goes on saying that the truth behind Cobra's assassination is the news reports that made him a hero. Dragon further explained that in the eyes of the revolutionaries everywhere, authority figures within the world government are hated for being subhuman monsters, while there are power-hungry individuals that deserve that title. He further says that there are a number of fair rulers and King Cobra was in the class of his own. Everyone considered him to be an understanding sovereign, but unfortunately misinformation spreads faster than nuance like that. And then Sabo goes on to say that it might sound cold, but he doesn't really feel bad. For what happened to King Cobra, he can live with the way everything played out, if it helped fuel the flames of the rebellion. Dragon was surprised hearing it on how unshakable Sabo seems, but he wanted to know the truth of what really happened. As we get the scene of the newspaper where we could see that Sabo was caught in 4K when King Cobra was assassinated. Guys, to be honest with you, I think that King Cobra was also involved with the world government and the higher up. And we could get some great secret in the upcoming chapters where we could see that King Cobra's hands were dirty because of some of the world government missions. We could speculate that. But getting back to the chapter, and then we get a flashback of what happened on that day at Marijoa. Not long after the Reverie began, the gods, aka the celestial dragons, were being attacked by the intruders, which was further explained to be the revolutionary, specifying the four captains being Sabo, Lindbergh, Karasu, and Morley. And we see some celestial dragons panic as they were screaming at their slaves and the bodyguards who protected them to kill the intruders, as they started yelling at them and then calling them useless and saying them to kill themselves if they don't do something about it. And then suddenly we see Karasu swoop in and take the gun of one of the hands of the celestial dragon that was just about to kill a slave. Karasu then tells the slave to escape to the east of the city with one of his crew, and then we see the bodyguards started shooting Karasu, but it doesn't work because of his devil fruit. And then he attacks, and now we transition to Lindbergh, who is being warned by one of the Karasu's bird to hurry and free everyone because the enemies are heading his way. And then we swap back to Karasu, who is face to face with Admiral Fujitaro. Karasu uses an attack called Crowing Wrecking and sends a bunch of crows flying at Fujitaro, but he just starts slicing the crows. And then we now transition to Lindbergh, who is shooting lasers beams at the slaves chain to free them, while he's telling them to gather up in the east of the city. And then we go to Morley, who is fighting Admiral Green Bull, who was in his tree form, and asking him where his leader went off, and more like calling him a pervert and telling him to shouldn't go around stalking people as he stab him in his hands with a spear. And then we swap back to Fujitaro, who is preparing to send a meteoroid, but everyone around him is just telling him that it's a terrible idea. And now we get to see the CP0s who were observing the situation, stating that 2 admirals is enough to turn the battle upside down. But they are handicapped right now because they are in the Holy Land, so they cannot really do anything too destructive. But even if with that handicap, the Revolutionary Army are still standing their grounds and putting a good fight. Now we transition to Pengay Castle, where we see Sabo is trying to find the keys of the slave collars, but he noticed that Roswell and Charles riding Kurma, stating that they are still looking to get revenge for what happened at the public court yard, and says that he hasn't given up on getting Shirahoshi. Sabo then says he won't forgive them for using Kurma like that. And then we see Bonnie yelling out for Kurma. And then we transition to Lucci confronting Vivi, to which Vivi tells Lucci to buzz off, telling him that she would rather have a Admiral Garp to help her, not him, considering what happened with Shirahoshi earlier and how he did nothing to help her, saying that that creep is definitely going to target Shirahoshi again. And then we swap over to King Cobra, who is about to meet the Gorosei alone, and he tells Chaka and Pell that they shouldn't waste their time and rather go and look after Vivi, and explain that she always been mischievous, saying you can't let her out of sight for a second. And that is the end of the chapter.